Look, I want you to understand something deep today. Your weaknesses are not your enemy. They're not the chain holding you back. They are the very things that when you look at them square in the eye, can set you free. You see, the moment you stop running from what you don't have and start owning it, that's when transformation begins. Nobody starts out perfect. Nobody is born with all the answers or all the gifts. What separates the winners from the rest is the courage to face their flaws, to admit their faults, and to say, I'm going to use this. I'm going to make this work for me. You have to get real with yourself. What is that one thing you've been trying to hide? That fear, that insecurity, that failure. Bring it out. Because once you own it, you take the power away from it and you turn it into your strength. When life knocks you down, and it will, you have two choices. You can stay down and let those weaknesses define you, or you can get up, stand tall, and say, this is my fuel. Use that pain, that doubt, that struggle, make it the fire that drives you forward. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being better than you were yesterday. Progress, not perfection. Every step forward is a victory over what tried to hold you back. Don't let your weaknesses be your prison. Let them be your launching pad. Innovate, adapt, find new ways. The world is full of stories where people their biggest flaws into their biggest wins. You can be one of those stories. Real strength isn't about hiding your cracks. It's about shining through them. It's about walking through fire and coming out stronger, wiser, and ready to take on whatever comes next. So, I challenge you today, look at your weaknesses not as burdens, but as gifts. Because when you turn your weaknesses into strengths, you unlock a power inside you that nobody can ever take away. Stand up, step into your power, own your story, and become unstoppable. Before you can transform your weaknesses into strengths, you have to see them clearly. That means being brutally honest with yourself. No sugarcoating, no excuses, no hiding behind distractions or false bravado. Self-awareness is the foundation for growth. Without it, you're walking blind, hoping to get somewhere without ever knowing where you are or what's holding you back. Think about it. How often do we overlook our own flaws because we're too afraid to face them? We make excuses, blame circumstances, or even pretend they don't exist. But those weaknesses don't disappear just because you ignore them. They linger in the background, quietly sabotaging your progress, stealing your confidence, and holding you back from reaching your full potential. The first step to turning your weaknesses into strengths is to shine a light on them. Identify them clearly. What are those things that trip you up? What habits, fears, or limitations do you carry around that keep you stuck? This requires courage because it's uncomfortable to confront parts of yourself you don't like. It means sitting in the discomfort of your imperfections instead of running away. But here's the powerful truth. Once you're willing to face your weaknesses head on, you take back control. You stop letting them control you. Self-awareness gives you the clarity to see not just what's wrong, but also what you can do about it. It opens the door to change and growth. And don't confuse self-awareness with self-judgment. This is not about beating yourself up or feeling shame. It's about honest observation with a heart of compassion. You're not defining yourself by your weaknesses. You're simply recognizing them as part of your current reality. This clear-eyed understanding is what allows you to make strategic decisions. It helps you figure out how to improve, where to put your energy, and what habits you need to change. When you become self-aware, you start noticing patterns. Maybe you realize that your impatience leads you to rush decisions, or your fear of failure keeps you from taking risks. Maybe you see how a lack of confidence makes you shrink back when opportunity knocks. These insights are gold. They give you a roadmap for change. And here's the key: self-awareness is not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing practice. It means checking in with yourself regularly, being honest about your progress, and adjusting your course as you learn more. It means embracing discomfort as a sign that you're growing, not failing. So, if you want to turn your weaknesses into strengths, start with yourself. Look inward. Be willing to see your whole story, the good and the bad. That's the beginning of true transformation. When you do that, you take the first powerful step on the path to becoming the best version of yourself. There's a powerful idea that can change the way you see your weaknesses forever. What you often think of as a weakness is actually an opportunity waiting for you to grab it. It's not a dead end or a roadblock. It's a door. The challenge is to change your perspective, to stop seeing flaws as failures and start seeing them as chances for growth, creativity, and breakthrough. Every weakness carries within it a seed of strength, but it takes effort and mindset to find it. When you look at a weakness through the lens of defeat, you limit yourself. You accept that this is something you can't overcome, something that defines you and holds you back. But when you flip that script and see your weakness as an invitation, an opportunity to improve, to innovate, to rise above, you open yourself up to transformation. You begin to understand that your struggles are not your enemy, they are your greatest teachers. Think about the stories of people who have faced enormous obstacles in their lives. People who might have been told they couldn't succeed because of what others saw as their weaknesses. Those very challenges forced them to develop skills and strengths they wouldn't have discovered otherwise. Maybe someone struggled with public speaking, but because they had to overcome that fear, they became powerful communicators. Maybe someone's impatience pushed them to find faster, more effective ways to get things done. Their weaknesses became the spark for their success. This is the essence of turning weakness into strength. It's about shifting your mindset to see your shortcomings as a kind of raw material, the stuff you can work with to build something greater. It's the difference between being stuck and being in motion. When you embrace your weakness as an opportunity, you're no longer limited by it. You're empowered by it. Opportunities born from weaknesses are often the most valuable because they force you to think differently. They push you out of your comfort zone and make you develop resilience, creativity, and grit. You start looking for solutions rather than excuses. You develop empathy because you understand struggle. You build character because you face your limitations head on. This mindset also teaches you patience and persistence. Real change doesn't happen overnight. Turning a weakness into a strength takes time, effort, and consistent action. But every step forward is progress, and every setback is just another lesson. When you adopt this way of thinking, you start to welcome challenges rather than avoid them. You begin to see each weakness as a call to action. So the next time you find yourself focusing on what you lack or what you struggle with, stop and ask yourself, how can this become my advantage? What can I learn here? What opportunity is hiding inside this challenge? The answers might surprise you. And that's where your true strength lies, not in being perfect, but in being willing to grow through imperfection. Embrace your weaknesses as opportunities and watch how your life begins to change. You don't have to run from what makes you feel small or inadequate. Instead, stand tall and say, "This is where my power begins." Because when you turn weaknesses into opportunities, you unlock a whole new level of potential you never knew you had. Resilience is the invisible muscle that powers the journey from weakness to strength. It's what keeps you moving forward when the weight of your struggles feels unbearable. It's the grit inside you that refuses to quit, no matter how many times you fall or how hard the road gets. Without resilience, weaknesses can easily become permanent barriers. But with resilience, those same weaknesses become the foundation for transformation. When life hits you hard, and it will, resilience is what lets you stand back up. It's easy to be strong when everything is going well, but real strength is tested in moments of failure, rejection, disappointment, and pain. It's in those moments that your resilience either carries you or breaks you. Resilience isn't about never feeling hurt or never falling down. It's about how you respond when you do. Think of resilience like a rubber band. It stretches when pressure is applied. But instead of snapping, it bounces back, often stronger and more flexible than before. This is exactly how your weaknesses work when paired with resilience. Every setback, every struggle, every moment you want to give up. That's the pressure stretching you. How you respond determines whether you grow or get stuck. Building resilience means cultivating a mindset that failure is not the end, but a necessary part of growth. It's the recognition that setbacks are temporary and that each challenge you overcome adds to your strength. You begin to see obstacles as tests rather than roadblocks, and you develop the patience to push through pain and discomfort because you know that on the other side is growth. Resilience also involves self-belief. When you trust in your ability to endure, adapt, and overcome, you fuel your transformation. It's this belief that carries you through the darkest times, when the world might be telling you no, or when your own inner voice doubts you. Resilience keeps you anchored in hope and determination. Importantly, resilience isn't built overnight. It's forged through experience. By facing adversity and choosing to persevere again and again, each time you push through difficulty, you build a little more strength. And over time, this accumulation of persistence shapes your character and makes you unbreakable in spirit. Resilience also teaches humility. It reminds you that you're human and it's okay to struggle. The difference is that you don't let struggle define you. Instead, you let it refine you, shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable. This process is transformational because it shifts your identity from victim to victor. When you combine resilience with self-awareness and the willingness to learn, your weaknesses no longer hold power over you. Instead, they become stepping stones on your path to greatness. You learn to adapt your strategies, grow your skills, and develop a mindset that no challenge is too big to overcome. So when you face your weaknesses, remember that resilience is your greatest ally. It's the force inside you that fuels transformation and turns pain into power. The more resilient you become, the more you realize that your weaknesses aren't the end of your story. They're just the beginning of a comeback. One of the biggest traps that hold people back is the idea that they have to be perfect before they can succeed. Perfection becomes this impossible standard that nobody can meet, and chasing it only leads to frustration, paralysis, and self-doubt. But the truth is, growth, not perfection, is what truly matters. When you shift your focus from trying to be flawless to simply becoming better every day, you open yourself up to transformation in ways you never thought possible. Growth is a process. It's messy, uneven, and sometimes uncomfortable. You're going to make mistakes, stumble, and fall. That's part of the journey. Perfection, on the other hand, is static and unreachable. When you chase perfection, you're chasing a moving target that keeps getting farther away. You end up stuck, afraid to take risks, and unwilling to put yourself out there for fear of failure or judgment. The key is to redefine what success looks like. Instead of saying, I have to get this exactly right, start saying, how can I improve today? What can I learn from this experience? This mindset shift is powerful because it changes the focus from what you lack to what you can gain. It frees you from the chains of unrealistic expectations and lets you embrace your human nature, flaws and all. When you focus on growth, you begin to see your weaknesses not as signs of failure, but as starting points for improvement. Every mistake becomes a lesson, every setback a chance to adjust your approach. This turns your weaknesses into tools for development rather than sources of shame. You learn to be patient with yourself, understanding that mastery takes time and effort. Growth also requires curiosity and humility. It means being willing to ask questions like, what can I do differently? Where can I improve? Instead of getting defensive or discouraged. This openness creates a feedback loop that accelerates your progress. You become a student of your own journey, constantly refining your skills and mindset. Moreover, focusing on growth helps you build resilience. When you accept that mistakes are part of the process, you become less afraid of failure. You learn to bounce back quicker and keep pushing forward. This resilience is what transforms weaknesses into strengths because it fuels the persistence needed to overcome obstacles. Perfectionism also isolates you. It can make you feel like you're alone in your struggles because you believe everyone else has it all figured out. But focusing on growth connects you to the reality that everyone is on a journey. Everyone has weaknesses and makes mistakes. This realization fosters empathy and encourages collaboration, making your path less lonely. Ultimately, growth is about progress, not perfection. It's about showing up each day, putting in the work, and celebrating small victories along the way. It's about trusting the process and knowing that over time, consistent effort will yield remarkable results. So, if you want to turn your weaknesses into strengths, stop aiming for perfection. Instead, commit to growth. Embrace the journey, learn from your experiences, and keep moving forward. When you do this, you'll find that your weaknesses don't define you. They refine you. Sometimes, the very things we see as our weaknesses can become the greatest fuel for our fire. When you learn to use your weaknesses as motivation rather than obstacles, you tap into a powerful source of energy that can push you farther than you ever imagined. It's about turning the pain of what you lack or where you've struggled into a driving force that propels you forward. Motivation born from weakness is deeply personal. It's not about competing with others or trying to prove something to the world. It's about proving to yourself that you can rise above your limitations. When you feel the sting of failure or the weight of doubt, you have two choices. You can let it crush you, or you can let it challenge you. The choice to let it challenge you is what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. Think about it. Every person who has overcome great odds has at some point used their weaknesses as fuel. Whether it was a lack of confidence, a difficult upbringing, or a perceived flaw, they refused to let it define them. Instead, they turned those weaknesses into a source of motivation, something that made them work harder, learn more, and push beyond their comfort zones. This kind of motivation comes from deep inside. It's the fire that burns when no one else is watching. When the odds seem stacked against you, it's what makes you get up early to practice, stay late to study, or keep going when others quit. It's a quiet determination fueled by the desire to rewrite your story and show up as your best self. Using your weaknesses as motivation also means embracing your story, including the parts you wish were different. When you own your struggles rather than hide them, you create authenticity and strength. You show yourself that your past or your flaws don't have to dictate your future. This mindset shifts the narrative from victimhood to victory. Moreover, motivation from weaknesses helps you stay focused during hard times. When challenges arise, and they will, you can remind yourself why you started. You can tap into that internal fire to keep pushing forward, even when the path is tough or uncertain. This kind of motivation sustains long-term growth because it's rooted in something deeply meaningful. It's important to remember that motivation fueled by weakness is not about negative self-talk or beating yourself up. It's about channeling that energy in a positive, constructive way. Instead of saying, "I'm not good enough," you say, "I'm going to prove that I can be better." Instead of feeling defeated by what you lack, you feel driven to develop new skills and strengths. This process also teaches resilience and grit. When your motivation is tied to overcoming your weaknesses, you develop the habit of persistence. You learn to face setbacks with a mindset of, "What can I learn from this? How can I get better?" Over time, this attitude transforms your weaknesses into stepping stones on the road to success. So, if you want to turn your weaknesses into strengths, start by using them as motivation. Let your challenges ignite your passion and drive. Use the discomfort of your flaws as fuel to push harder, reach higher, and become the person you were meant to be. When you do this, your weaknesses become not your downfall, but your greatest source of power. When you face a weakness or challenge, it forces you to adapt, to think differently, and to innovate in ways you might never have considered before. Challenges have a way of pushing us beyond the boundaries of what we thought possible, stretching our minds and our abilities. This process of adaptation and innovation is essential for turning weaknesses into strengths because it drives you to discover new solutions and unlock hidden potential. Weaknesses, by their nature, create gaps or limitations. When you encounter these gaps, you're confronted with a choice. You can accept them and stay limited, or you can find creative ways to work around them. This need to overcome obstacles compels you to innovate. You start looking for new methods, new tools, or new ways of thinking that can help you bridge the gap. This is where real growth happens. Adaptation is not just about survival, it's about evolution. When you adapt, you're not simply trying to get by. You're transforming yourself. You become more flexible, more resourceful, and more capable. These qualities are exactly what turn weaknesses into strengths. When you embrace change and challenges as opportunities to adapt, you develop a mindset that thrives in uncertainty and complexity. Innovation often comes from necessity. When your usual approach doesn't work because of a weakness, you're forced to innovate. You experiment with new strategies, test different paths, and sometimes fail before finding what works. This trial and error process is crucial. It teaches you resilience and helps you develop skills you didn't know you had. You become a problem solver, not just someone who gets stuck when things don't go as planned. Moreover, adapting and innovating through challenge helps you build confidence. Every time you find a new way to work around a limitation, you prove to yourself that you can overcome obstacles. This builds momentum and strengthens your belief in your own abilities. You learn that weaknesses are not fixed points, but moving targets that you can change through creativity and effort. Challenges also expand your perspective. When you have to adapt, you begin to see the bigger picture. You start to notice connections and possibilities you might have missed before. This broader view can open doors to opportunities that wouldn't have been visible without the challenge pushing you to look differently. In this way, weakness becomes a catalyst for insight and innovation. Importantly, the process of adapting and innovating is ongoing. Life will always present new challenges and weaknesses to overcome. The key is to develop the habit of embracing these moments as chances to evolve rather than threats to your progress. This mindset keeps you agile, ready to pivot, and always learning. When you learn to adapt and innovate through challenge, you also inspire those around you. You become a leader who demonstrates how to face difficulties with creativity and courage. This not only helps you grow, but also creates a ripple effect, encouraging others to find strength in their own weaknesses. So, if you want to turn your weaknesses into strengths, embrace the challenges they bring. Let them push you to adapt, to think outside the box, and to innovate. When you do this, you don't just survive your weaknesses, you transform them into powerful assets that drive your success. Many people believe strength means never showing weakness, as if being strong means being flawless, unbreakable, and always in control. But real strength is far from that myth. True strength is not about the absence of weakness. It's about embracing your whole self, your flaws, your struggles, your vulnerabilities, and using them to fuel your growth. Strength comes from acceptance, courage, and the willingness to keep moving forward even when you feel weak. To think strength is the absence of weakness is to misunderstand what it means to be human. Every person has weaknesses. It's part of our nature. What sets strong people apart is not that they don't have weaknesses, but that they acknowledge them and refuse to be defined or limited by them. They understand that vulnerability is not a weakness, but a form of honesty and power. This kind of strength takes courage because it requires showing up fully, even when you're scared or uncertain. When you accept your weaknesses as part of your story, you free yourself from the pressure to be perfect. You stop wasting energy trying to hide what you think makes you less than. Instead, you redirect that energy into growth and action. This acceptance creates space for self-compassion, which is crucial for resilience. When you're kind to yourself, you recover faster from setbacks and keep pushing forward. Strength also means being honest about your limits while refusing to be controlled by them. It means knowing where you struggle and then choosing to take steps forward anyway. This is the grit that makes transformation possible. It's the difference between giving up and grinding through hard times. People who possess this kind of strength don't pretend to be invincible. They embrace their humanity and keep going. Another powerful aspect of true strength is the ability to learn from failure and weakness. Instead of seeing mistakes as signs that you're not strong enough, you view them as valuable lessons that shape your journey. This mindset turns weaknesses into tools for growth rather than sources of shame. The stronger you become, the more you realize that setbacks are part of progress. Real strength also fosters connection and empathy. When you acknowledge your vulnerabilities, you relate better to others who are struggling. This creates deeper relationships and a support network that sustains you. Strength, in this way, is not just about individual power, but about community and shared resilience. It's important to understand that strength is a journey, not a destination. You won't suddenly become invincible, and you won't ever be completely free of weaknesses. But with each challenge you face and each weakness you accept, you build a stronger foundation. You develop the inner fortitude to handle whatever life throws your way. So don't fall for the myth that strength means having no weaknesses. True strength is about embracing your imperfections, facing your fears, and continuing to move forward with courage and heart. It's about being real, being honest, and being willing to grow through every part of your story. That is where your true power lies.